Hey gang, it's Seth. I want to first open up by saying that the look on this lady's face is typical of what I expect from CNN. But this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because, as you can see, well, you can't, but this video is about 14 minutes long. I only go into about 11 minutes of it, and I speed it up a little bit so the voices may sound a little bit, well, they will sound sped up, and I'm hoping not more difficult to hear. I played it a couple times and it sounded okay. So I will post the link in the videos in the comments below, so if you want to go check it out in real time, real speed, you can do that. And I already have a plan to do a fourth video today based on one specific thing that one of the douchebags in here says. So without further ado, as they say, so this video is going to be about fake news. And as I said before, in a couple videos, and I say it routinely, fake news is not about reporting lies. It's a lot more subtle. It's there's so many more techniques, and fake news is just today a form of propaganda utilized by the left. It's not just lies. It's what I call the most commonly used tactic is verbal sleight of hand. Talk more about that in a little bit. There's deception, blatant misuse of quotes, quote mining, and other techniques. With that said, let's get into this. Bear with me for a moment.
Our panel is back with us. Thanks for coming back and sticking with us.
Not much said here, just introducing some people.
Senator, you were involved in a lot of intra-Republican fights in your time in Congress about immigration. How do you see this playing out?
Well, look, I hope the president abides by the rule of law, which is that the law does not allow him, any president, to uniformly just to stop enforcing the law. And so I think hopefully he will enforce the law and say that there's an opportunity here for some sort of deal to be worked out where the president gets something that he wants, and I think the American public wants, which is better border enforcement, whether that means a wall or increased funding for border security, maybe in exchange for some sort of program on these, quote, dreamers.
Now, the first thing I want to say is that what he said, the first part I totally agree with. Part of the issue with DACA, when people talk about the unconstitutionality of it, is that, and you'll hear the argument from the left and from the mass media, the fake news, saying, oh, well, every president does it. Well, no. Prioritizing what illegal act you're going to pursue over below one another is not illegal. DACA and DAPA made it illegal. I can't say illegal, but but I'll just stick with that term. It made it illegal for the government to prosecute these individuals based on their status. It gave them an exemption. Now, but the more important thing I want to focus on here is what he just said. And I'll replay it again for a moment.
He wants, and I think the American public wants, which is better border enforcement, whether that means a wall or increased funding for border security, maybe in exchange for some sort of program on these, quote, dreamers.
That's what scares me. I do believe that there's a big chance that all this is going to end in exactly what people who voted for Trump and his platform did not want, which was these people being naturalized where we want them gone. So I got a random car horn beeping in front of my house. I don't want that. I want them gone. I want strict policies on immigration. I'll get more into that a little bit later, but it goes against what so many Americans specifically voted Donald Trump and House and Senate, all the entire Congress, local officials were riding in on this, and now they're saying, oh no, I'm really nervous about that.
But for the president to just act unilaterally is wrong, number one.
The president to act unilaterally is wrong. This entire debacle was caused why? Because President Obama acted unilaterally. He decided to do it. Now, if he had attempted to push this through Congress legally at the time, which more than likely would have been shot down, and then we wouldn't have this conversation at all today, the government wouldn't be labeling them dreamers, and they wouldn't be having these amnesty, legal protection issues that they do have. So, more important, I would argue that he's not acting unilaterally. He's pushing Senate and the House of Representatives to do their job, not saying, I'm going to do this.
Well, number two, you've heard members of Congress, both parties, saying we need to do something about it.
Oh, the whole thing about this is the prior 2 points that I made exhibit the fact that, like I said in my last video, these spineless, cowardly, two-faced, self-serving politicians claiming to be Republicans, now going back on a lot of the things that they were running under.
Is fine. I think the president should work with them to do something, but should get something that the American public wants, which is no changes in our immigration policy until we secure the border.
Excuse me, Secretary, I want you to respond, but as you do, I want our viewers to have the context that you worked for George W. Bush, the last Republican president, to try to get comprehensive immigration.
That's right.
So this is just a quick thing I want to say. Not that she said anything relevant, because she didn't, but when I talk about fake news, this is just an example of trying to mislead you by association. So this person brought on in an attempt to give the left credence by saying, well, this person was on the right, this person served under Trump, so you can't disagree with them, or you should agree with us. It's just a false flag. People on one side disagree. I know Republicans, conservatives, centrists who disagree with me on a lot of things, and vice versa. And people on the left who have different agreements about unions, about immigration, about taxes, about firearms, all kinds of things. So to make it to try to preempt this guy when they don't introduce anyone else by saying that basically, oh, they're on the right, or we're on the right.
So the idea of the DACA being unconstitutional, a lot of presidents have used the idea of deferred action. So if you think it's unconstitutional, let's make it a law, let's fix it. And that would be, as some people are working today, passing a DREAM Act or passing a Bridge Act that
Which
will
is already
get you to a DREAM Act.
Rebutted by what the gentleman said the first thing, where deferring is not the same as making it illegal.
We had the Chinese Exclusion Acts. I think this decision, if the decision is let's deport these kids, I think this would be one of the most notorious immigration decisions in our history, and I think it would be a permanent stain, a permanent blemish on the U.S. forever.
I think. I mean, you're going to notice this trend here, and I'll try to point it out more. Feelings. I think. That would be sad. That would be scary. People are scared. Anxiety. Blah blah blah. So again, I already touched on the fact that the president made deferred. Presidents historically have made deferred deportation, but not any have made an executive order making it legal or illegal to mess with that. Now, the other thing he says is, let's deport these kids. I'm going to bring that up later, but please remember that statement. Let's deport these kids. The other thing is that, this being the liberal media, they're telling you what to think and not positing questions to you, not putting out there maybe, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? They're telling you that I think the conclusion will be this. Again, that's one guy. I already know what my conclusion is, so what he's saying is irrelevant, just as my statement would be irrelevant to him. But this is meant to influence people who this is their lifeline in terms of news. They don't argue in facts. They don't argue in logic. This is typical liberal debate and argument. It's not going to cost X money. It's not going to affect Y lives. It's not going to raise or lower GDP by this. It's not going to affect the standard of living. It will not save or lose or cost us this much in tax money. It feels a way, and I think this, and this may be how something may end up if this may happen. If I think, a lot. No facts.
Congresswoman, you are currently serving in the House of Representatives, and the House Speaker, the Republican House Speaker, is trying to get the president not to act unilaterally and instead let Congress handle it. Let's listen.
I actually don't think he should do that, and I believe that this
guy's
is something that
starting
Congress has
to disappoint me nonstop.
Okay, let's get real. The reason why this program is in place, in the first place, done by executive decision by President Obama, is because Congress can't get its act together on immigration.
One time in the last year, CNN has said something that I agree with, which is that basically Congress sucks.
Realistic, you think
for years and to present and pass legislation for comprehensive immigration reform. Actually, in 2010, I believe, we passed the DREAM Act for our young people, and it got stalled in the Senate.
Right there. So why did that get stalled? Why did it, quote, get stalled? Okay. The Dreamer Act that she's talking about, why do bills and stuff get struck down? Generally because they are illegal, unconstitutional, present massive waste of taxpayer money, which is generally pointed out, or they pushed an agenda that is overwhelmingly not in the interest of voters. So it's not like Senate was like, yeah, no. There has to be some kind of logical reason. And if there was some complete arbitrary reason that it was, quote, stalled and not pushed through, you know what they would do? Push it and push it and push it till it gets done, like they did with Proposition 8 in California, and like they do with every other law. We're just going to push it and push it, push it until you get this vote right. Oh, wait, but maybe it's not, because it may not be legal or constitutional, or just a massive sinkhole of taxpayer funds that's not in the interest of Americans. So let's go on.
But let me just say, first of all, this decision should be weighing on the president very, very heavily. It is wrong to create this kind of anxiety. These mixed messages, first of all, they're creating fear, anxiety. Our young people here, 800,000 of them, are worried to death about what's going to happen to them. They play by the rules. They've gone to school. They've contributed to the economy. They're Americans. And we have legislation. Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard and Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton have presented legislation. We know we can get this passed in a bipartisan way, and so we should do that. But in the meantime, we should not allow the anxiety and the fears of these children to continue, and the president should do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Of note, here's what I talked about. Liberals and the media do not argue in concrete, tangible, or logic. Fear, anxiety, worry to death, children scared, kids in fear, kids, feelings this, feelings that. If people are if fear and anxiety were a tool to make law, this would be a completely different country. If people were in fear that parents could go to jail for selling drugs or for could get thrown in jail for driving without insurance, should the government step in and do their job and make it illegal to prosecute drug dealers and make it illegal for people to be ticketed for not having insurance when they drive? If my son is in a gang and I'm fear and anxiety and I'm overwhelmed at night that my son may be thrown in jail for doing a drive-by or for selling drugs or strong arm robbery, should the onus be on the government to step in and make all those things unprosecutable? No. Where's the logic there? Just because someone is scared of a decision that was made on their behalf, i.e. with children, or as an adult, or they're anxious about it, doesn't mean we should not be enacting the law on them. Feelings, fear, anxiety, poor kids. Now again, the use of the word kids I want you to focus on too. I'm going to bring it all up and wrap that up in a later point, but please, these poor kids, don't deport these kids. These kids, the fear that the kids.
Just a few things here. First of all, there are 124,000 dreamers in Texas right now who are living with the anxiety that they're going to have to, they could be uprooted from their families. The average age of dreamers was 6 years old when they came over. They are.
Now, again, kids, fear, anxiety, the average age of the kids. What did she say? Okay. This is verbal sleight of hand right here. These kids were 6 years old when they came over here. Not today, not yesterday, not what are they going to be tomorrow. This doesn't say when they came over here or how old they are now. Not at this moment. How long have they been here? What have they done since? Have they learned English? Have they paid tax money? Have they got into a legal path to citizenship? Have they worked non-under-the-table jobs, paid tax money? Have they not utilized social aid that American taxpayers pay to the government up front to pay for other Americans and themselves in need? What have they done here since they've been here? And again, when they came here, let's deport these kids, the kids in the fear, the anxiety. Kids, children, 6 years old when they got here. Please remember that.
Here because of the decisions of their parents, not because of their own decisions. For most of them, this is the only country that they know. So it would be heartless, in fact, to take them away. And just to respond to Senator Santorum, the issue here is every president has made decisions about the prioritization of what they're going to do on immigration. If you listen to Donald Trump, he says he wants to get rid of criminals. These are not criminals. These are people who are in school. They are working. 90% of them have jobs. These are people who are contributing. So,
let me see. I missed it. I talked over, so I'm going to rewind it for a moment.
On immigration, if you listen to Donald Trump, he says he wants to get rid of criminals. These are not criminals. These are people who are in school. They are working. 90% of them have jobs.
Okay, that is the key point, and it's so amidst all that she's going on about, her whole diatribe is smushed in, and you miss it probably. Okay. Kids in fear, kids with anxiety, being ripped apart from their families, children with anxiety, stricken with these kids are stricken with fear. They use the terms kid, children's, dreamers, talk about the age of 6. Okay, all these things to paint a picture to you, or to more importantly, if you're watching my video, probably not you, but to people who are just too ignorant or uneducated or don't have the desire because they want to drink the Kool-Aid. Excuse me, I burped. I have a question for you. If these kids and children are so dependent on family and government, cannot function, be capable, or battle fear and anxiety, how do 90% of them have jobs? So let's think about this. Several minutes ago, they put out there to you that almost all of them are 6 years old. Again, this is verbal sleight of hand. 6 years old kids, children, but 90% of them have jobs. Out of one side of their mouth, they portray these dreamers as children, 6-year-old, still coddling their family members, going into school, just want to live the normal life of an innocent kid stricken by fear. At the same time, 90% of them are adults doing working jobs, capable of working, capable of contributing to society, capable, if you're working a job, dealing with some form of adversity. But at the same time, there's 6-year-old kids who are incapable of doing it. That is the biggest thing I want you to take away from here, aside from one point that I'm going to make and address in another video. That is verbal sleight of hand. They will mislead you. When it's convenient, they'll paint the picture of these kids, these innocent kids. The majority are these just young kids who were brought in, had no decision, and now they're so stricken. But also, now that you want to focus on the negative effect of the economy, well, yeah, 90% of those 6-year-old kids are actually working jobs, contributing to the economy and all that stuff. Not even to focus on the fact that even though you are working a job, you can still be sucking away at the government resources like welfare, welfare, financial aids, things like that. So
these are people who are contributing. So the idea that the president can't say,
these
I'm going to prioritize other people in this process is wrong. And that's why courts have upheld us. We are dealing with an artificial deadline. It is only a bunch of AGs who are threatening to sue. He could say, let's see how it goes in the courts. But in the meantime, Congress should act, and he should get behind that action.
With all due respect, prioritization is not saying you can't remove somebody. There's a big difference. And to conflict
3 or 4 times, I keep going back to that.
You're not telling the truth. I mean, you're just really not. I mean, the reality is,
that's a key point there. If you go back and watch the video, that's it.
And he's putting a policy.
Let's just say that you have this argument that it is not constitutional. But we agree that we need to save these kids. These kids are Americans. They don't know how to speak Spanish. They have American values. They play Little League. They are as American as anyone else.
Those are all assumptions used to mislead people. I know 2 kids at my daughter's school right now who don't speak English. They passed the 1st grade not speaking English. I know one of them has a translator come in during parent-teacher conferences to talk to the students, or to talk to the teacher because they don't speak English. Not all of them are out playing baseball, learning English, contributing to society. The attempt to blanket Americanize these people is just completely disingenuous.
And to kick them out. So let's change the law.
Let's change the law. Change the law.
Is it a matter of
one
thing
thing
constitutional, or are there people in
when
this
is it okay to
country
change the law?
who
When
feel
it benefits
threatened by
them.
immigration,
But
who
if
feel threatened
Trump
by people
wants
who
to
look
make a
different
law,
than we do?
if Trump wants to make a law to not make these people legal, well, then that's unthinkable. We can't change the law to that way. We can only change the law to the way we want. This goes back to the whole. It's a big part of the European Union, and it's starting to trickle in the United States. We're going to let you vote on something until you vote right. We'll re-vote and re-vote and re-vote because you just got it wrong the first 3, 2, 5, 8 times. We'll dress it up, name it this, and change that, but it's still the same law. You just got to vote right. That's a big problem here.
Our country.
With all due respect, to suggest that people who want to limit immigration in this country, we have record levels.
I'm going to pause it because Scalise actually hits it. It's not Scalise. I forgot. It's Santorum. I'm sorry. Actually, again, I don't agree with him on much, but you may have missed it. So again, go back and listen to it. But what the other guy says is basically Americans don't want this because we're scared of immigrants. Which again, the moment, not that this guy has said anything of substance to promote any confidence in him prior to this point, but now more so that he played the race card, all of his credibility is lost. I'll just go back and.
They play Little League. They are as American as anyone else. And to kick them out. So let's change the law. But is it a matter of we don't think it's constitutional, or are there people in this country who feel threatened by immigration, who feel threatened that people who look different than we do are coming? Because that's what's happening. With all due respect, to suggest that people who want to limit immigration in this country, we have record levels of legal immigration. It is still enough.
We have over 1 million people a year, more than any time in the history of this country. We have the largest percentage of immigrants, almost tied with the historical high as the percentage of immigrants living in this country. We have
all over that guy's
far the most immigrants in this country. To suggest that anyone who wants to have a policy, we need to examine this to see the impact on working men and women in this country whose wages have been depressed for 20 years.
But that's not immigrants' fault.
I'm not blaming it on immigrants. Excuse me. I'm not blaming it on immigrants.
are.
What I am saying is that it is irrational for us to have a discussion. And for anyone to suggest that we can't have a discussion and somehow you're a bigot when you do so is offensive to a whole bunch of
What I am saying is that there are people who feel threatened by immigrants.
There are people who feel threatened by immigrants. So apparently everybody is like, well, you know what? There's people that are feel threatened by immigrants. There's people who feel threatened by whites. There's people who feel threatened by men. There's people who feel threatened by police. People who feel threatened by dogs. There's people who feel threatened by going outside because the open air is threatening. So what? Get over it. Again, feeling. I feel feelings, emotions. People are feared, anxiety, feel threatened. Okay, so what?
And they're using this concept of unconstitutional as a shield. Let me tell you something, Jeff, if I can just say one thing. An economy grows with the number of workers in the economy and the productivity of those economy. Our native-born workforce is not growing fast enough to grow the economy.
Well,
without immigration, we cannot grow.
Without immigration, an economy in a country can grow. Historically, they've done it. It's happened and can happen. But the thing is, not many people, me included, I'm sure Santorum, and I know Trump, they're not saying no immigration, no Mexicans will ever come here, no Israelis, no Africans. That's not even a thing. That's not even a mental position. I've never heard anyone say it. I'm sure there are. Now, granted, I don't talk to white supremacists, white nationalists, black supremacists, any people that are ethnostatists, if that's a word. It is now, if it's not. This is the most utilized, shaming smokescreen tactic that the fake news uses all the time. It's this stigma that because you don't want open borders, and just because you want illegal immigrants, that are here legally right now, gone, we want no one coming in, blanket. I want controlled immigration. I want quotas. I want background checks. I want immigration based on laws that dictate who comes here, period. Not zero, not only Americans, and we're just gonna, be in our own, soup cooking like that.
You're forgetting about the moral.
But to suggest that the immigration patterns that we have today is beneficial to America is a legitimate discussion.
The recently legal.
We have a moral and ethical responsibility to try to keep families together, not tear them apart.
Feelings, emotions, families torn apart. Again, we do not have a moral or ethical duty to keep families together if we turn a blind eye to criminality, okay? That's the key part. I don't feel inclined to keep together a family whose father beats the crap out of a wife and molests their kid. I don't feel it necessary to keep a family together of a white supremacist who goes out and burns down black churches. Maybe I'm the dickhead there. Maybe I'm the jerk who thinks that family should probably be torn apart, specifically so that adult cannot imprint those things onto the kid. But what do I know? Again, this is feelings. Oh, my hurts, my feels.
Secondly, I'm thinking
should go on more. Do unto others.
What about my children, my grandchildren, hanging in limbo like this, given all of the dynamics that this administration has been and the
don't break the law.
Created. And so, mentally, we should say no. We're not going to.
What if there is a deal in the works to say let the dreamers stay, and in return the president gets his money for his wall?
Heavens no! First of all,
that's exactly what I talked about before. That's right. Trump caved into that. Congress caved. No, we don't want that. Go all in.
I appreciate that Rick Santorum and Donald Trump want to use 800,000 people's lives as a bargaining chip for an unnecessary wall or other things, but that's not what leadership is. Leadership is actually saying what's right or wrong to do, and the fact that if you think it's wrong, don't use them as a bargaining chip. If you think it's right, don't use them as a
bargaining chip. I just want to add something to that because a lot of people will be saying this is a leadership moment for the president, and if he makes a tough decision to get rid of DACA.
I'm going to rewind it and play it at full speed, regular speed or whatever, because this is super important. I'm going to do a video on it shortly.
Leadership moment for the president.
Actually wrong, don't use them as a bargaining chip. If you think it's right, don't use them as a bargaining chip. I just want to add something to that because,
a lot of people will be saying this is a leadership moment for the president, and if he makes a tough decision to get rid of DACA, then he's showing leadership. Real leadership for the president would be to go up against his base and say, my wisdom, my sense of American values tells me that this is wrong. That would be leadership.
That is the most ignorant, biased, intellectually dishonest, cognitively dissonant statement anyone ever made. I'm going to just say this once and then I'll talk more. I didn't vote for Trump to lead me, okay? I should be leading Trump. Anyone who voted for Trump should be leading Trump. I voted for him to enact the things I want, not to show me how great of a leader he is. I'll talk more about that later. I'm going to fast forward a couple moments.
Republicans are not cooperating. You know what the deal has always been. Border security first. Republicans have said that from the very beginning. We have not gotten that. We need to get that.
There's
Executive branch acts, our laws don't work. We need 1 million people in farming.
We don't enforce
This
our
is
law.
okay, but we're
Our
actually
laws
DACA.
don't work. We don't have enough immigrants
Santorum
coming
goes
in.
off right here
DACA
really good.
isn't
Then I'm going
actually
to end this
about
video.
undocumented
Sorry about this
immigrants.
being so long.
DACA is actually about people who were brought here, kids who've been brought here. They've actually gone through the system. They've given their addresses. They're not living in the shadows. They're people who've actually said, I'm going to register essentially with the federal government. And now President Trump is threatening to use the information that they have voluntarily given to the administration, to the executive branch, to police them out of the country. It is heartless.
So what
It
possible
is
reason
heartless.
for some? Look, I think I'm a compassionate. I have 7 children. I'm concerned about kids. So why would I be opposed to something like this? And the reason is very simple. The reason I'm opposed to DACA is because of the unintended consequences of doing this very compassionate act that we've seen over and over again.
You ready for it?
And that is, when we give amnesty to a group of people, what do? You encourage more people to come over.
Boom. I'll post this video below. Get another one out here in a minute. Then I'm going to go about my day. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. And go easy, gang.